好，上线了。有没有连接？
这一支麦克风很清楚齁，两只麦克风清楚，
非常清楚，非常清楚。各位，这个已经因为现在稍慢慢就有人要上线，慢慢会进来这样子，就先跟这个刚上线的这个朋友打声招呼，我们是法白。
Hello， 大家好，我们是法白，我们是法律白话文运动。
一体的麦我先关掉，等下就我们这两个麦声音会出去。
现在是都打出去吗？
对
，IG 还没有
，IG 可能要慢一点。
脸书有了 ，YouTube 有了吗？
好 ，IG 讯号也要出去了。好，今天会有多少人在线上跟我们一起在做这个环绕半个地球的直播？我们今天在这个台湾的法白的这个棚内，跟巴西
COP30
COP30，我们做这个在现场做连线。
Yes 。
那陆毅先跟大家分享一下今天要聊的主题是什么吧。
其实我们今天主要聊的主题是要讨论说，关于不仅是气候变迁的问题，还有关于知识这件事情要怎么进行转译、传播出去这件事情。因为对很多台湾人来讲，可能会觉得，法律白话运动一直在做这件事情很稀松平常，但是搞不好在别的国家，他们怎么看待这件事情的时候，其实有很多不一样的想法。那我们可以来聊一下这件事情。
那我们今天邀请到的来宾有谁？
我们今天邀请到的来宾 ，OK， 我们今天邀请到的来宾有除了桂智跟洛毅之外，好，我们还有这个妈妈气候行动联盟国际合作暨社群营运专员的 COP30 代表团团长 Jasmine， 还有国际珍古德教育及保育协会印度分会青年领袖理事会亚太区顾问 Shawn。我们会有4个人一起来对谈讨论议题、气候变迁、沟通相关的经验。
OK， 我们今天这个直播除了在 IG 上面呢，也在 YouTube， 还有这个法白的脸书，法白 YouTube 把脸书把 IG 上面都做3个地方同步做直播，然后欢迎大家可以在这些地方来继续跟我们在线上做互动。然后今天这个直播呢，有个非常特别的地方是，今天这个直播接下来会用8点半的时候会正式开始。那这次开始之后呢，我们就会切换到这个大家期待已久的这个洛毅的全英文模式。这个在这洛毅这个前一阵子有这个帮 Speak AI 这个业配过嘛？
对。
然后这个训练那么久了，总是要来秀一下。所以今天这场连线呢，因为我们等一下会跟巴西 COP30 这个现场的各位这个专家学者来做这个交谈，所以这个对话呢，等一下就会有一个很大程度的就要用英文来做进行。
我觉得这对我来讲是一个非常非常大的挑战。那大家可能在这个挑战的状况底下，可能表现也不一定会非常非常好。我们这样 OK， 这样 OK。好，我们即将开始，5分钟后就要准备开始。
5分钟后就要准备开始。那也非常好奇，就是大家对于这次这个气候变迁的这个相关议题有没有一些看法？
我觉得可能蛮多的台湾人其实并不是非常非常关心这方面的议题。
怎么说？
因为我觉得日常生活当中，大家在讨论气候的议题的人，我以朋友来讲，好像比较没有那么多。对，大家讨论的，好比说在台湾，我们可能讨论这个性别的议题可能很多，或是各种的土地的议题可能比较多。
OK，
但是关于气候议题，可能好像没有这么多。
就在台湾，好像关注气候议题的这个热度呢，相对来说还算是一个还在发展中的一个议题。但如果把它扩大到环境的话，台湾这几年来很多公投其实都是跟环境有关。
对，例如说像关于核4要不要延役，
对，核3要不要重启，
藻礁
vs 这个3阶，
对，这其实都有这方面的这个议题在进行讨论。
没错。
所以其实环境议题在我们日常生活中息息相关，而且更重要的事情是，台湾是一个 island。island 有一个很大的问题，就是如果海平面上升的话，会很容易影响到 island。OK， 对，所以这个对我们来讲也是很重要的一件事情。海平
面上升很容易影响到一个
island。Yes, of course， 对吧
？Yeah，
对，所以我觉得这个关于 island， 身为一个 island 的地方，
身为一个 island，
也是台湾我们是一个 island， 但也很多 island。OK， 那大家都要不管各种的 island 都应该关心我们的 island， 因为海平面对我们上升影响其实是非常非常大的。
OK，
对，所以这个我觉得这个议题真的是，就大家可以想一下。对，再加上因为这个，我最近在研读一些气候诉讼的东西。
气候诉讼你最近研究了什么东西？
对，就是其实在几天前的时候，其实关于这个气候议题的时候，其实我就研究到气候诉讼。那气候诉讼它其实也是一种宪法诉讼。那宪法诉讼大家可能最近比较陌生，因为已经1年没有进行宪法诉讼了。那我们还帮大家唤起一下一些记忆，就是宪法诉讼就是做出宪法判决嘛。那气候诉讼在有些国家里面也是宪法判决的一种。那它等于是它会做什么事情？它会命国家做一些事情，好比说，举例来讲，政府可能在这个减碳上政策上的不作为，或者是目标太低，或者是没有履行保护人民免受气候灾害的义务的时候，这时候其实就有可能会主张说，因为气候变迁国家并没有做得好的状况底下，可能会影响到我们人民的生存权、健康权或者是环境权。所以这个时候就有点像是传统上行政法上的这个课与义务诉讼，可是它是宪法等级的，所以必须命国家必须要做到一定程度上的一些作为，确定这样子的一个责任，才能避免国家在避免人民的家园或者他的基本权利受到侵害。
那讲到这个气候诉讼，现在很大一个重点就是因为这些公民团体他们很在意，就台湾政府还没有针对这个2025年2025近零碳排这件事情规划出具体的减碳方案。
对，
所以他们认为应该透过法院赶快尽速判决来要求政府有这个义务尽速去定出相关的这个减排措施。
没错，其实这个我们也可以他山之石也可以攻错，所以我们看一下像德国，其实德国在2019年的时候就有发生过类似这样的状况，那他们就有控告说德国的联邦气候保护法其实把大部分减碳的这个负担的责任，其实推到是2030年以后的未来世代。
OK，
所以因此后面打这个宪法诉讼之后，其实在德国宪法法院做出这样子的一个判决，其实是对这个气候法认为是有违宪的，所以后来德国政府就有做出相关的一个作为。
OK，
所以也就是说，其实这个议题它不只是单纯的气候议题、环境议题，它其实跟我们的宪法、跟我们的权利其实也是息息相关的。
OK， 那我们也快速讲一下，因为我们既然都讲到减排义务了，就跟我们今天连线的现场 COP30 就很大的关系。
没错，
因为 COP30 它不是联合国气候变迁纲要公约的缔约国大会，而且今年是第30年，它其实是一个很重要的意义。
对，
因为它是第2个全球盘点年。
对，没错。
那这个为什么呢？因为这个气候变迁纲要公约定出来之后呢，它其实并没有公约本身并没有直接规定各国要减排多少，它是一个大家约定好以后来讨论要如何减排的一个公约，也就是大家只是先约定好以后会来讨论这些东西。那所以每一年的 COP 呢，我们都会非常的在意说，那这次的这个 COP 大会有没有达成新的更具有建设性的更有具体的一个减排承诺。那它这次是2015年巴黎协定之后的第2个全球盘点年，所以今年其实是非常关键，就我们到底能不能够将全球升温控制在摄氏 1.5 度。其实这个摄氏 1.5 度大家不要觉得说它才很小，就冷气上升1-2度大家都觉得很轻松，就是有科学研究去分析说，如果全球气温平均气温上升 1.5 度的话，会有非常多的国家就会被海水淹没，所以这其实是一个非常重要的一件事情。
没错，我现在同时也把我们的这个直播然后散播到更多地方。
你把它散播到哪里去？
IG 我们在这个大神殿也直接号召大家现在来看这样子，因为我们活动应该算要即将开始
也要把这个脸书的这个丢进我们的社团里面，我们那个订阅制的会员呢，欢迎大家一起来看。
对，好，那我们现在差不多要准备开始了吗？
我们差不多可以准备开始了。那个等他们现场，因为现场看起来今天在现场跟我们连线的这个来宾呢，都已经在现场做定位了，所以我想我们很快就要进入到这个全英文的模式了。
对，我们先跟 Jasmine 跟 Shawn 打声招呼。Hello Jasmine, Hi Shawn.
Hello.
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 Good morning, Brazil.
Hello.
Hi. Evening here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
morning.
evening.
Good evening. Hi.
So, okay, we can start the session.
Okay, sure.
Okay. I'm Jasmine Wu from Mom Loves Taiwan. Okay. And now we are at the COP30 Green Zone. As you know, COP30 has blue zone and green zone, and green zone is the most accessible for the public. So now we're at the Green Zone Stuff United Fund Pavilion. And today we have this session about Can you relate to the climate action or social or traditional media? We will explore that in the era of info overload and also climate emergency. How can we turn these very complicated energy and climate issues into the content that people can actually relate and resonate with, so they could turn their issues into actions? So we have me, Jasmine Wu, and Shawn here, and then also our online guests from Taiwan, Plain Law Movement. And so now, this session will also be live streamed on the Plain Law Movement FB and YouTube. So please give a warm welcome to everyone tuning in online and here.
Hello.
So now I'm delighted to pass over the moderation to Taiwan's most influential social media voices, the founder and editor-in-chief of Plain Law Movement, Gui Zhi. You have the floor.
Hello, thank you, Jasmine. It's my pleasure to gather here today to bring together voice for law, media, climate action, youth diplomacy, and global conservation. So this session invites us to explore how different sectors communicate public issue and climate change challenge, and how each perspective adds to the broader shared understanding. It's my honor to introduce today's speaker. My name is Casey Yang. I am the editor-in-chief of the Plain Law Movement. I am also a lawyer and journalist and a public educator dedicated to making legal knowledge accessible and strengthening public engagement with the law. Today, my colleague Roy Liu sit with me, and he will also share some of his perspective. He is a digital strategist shaping Plain Law Movement online narrative and community engagement, focusing on how legal and civic issues circulated on social platforms.
Yeah, at the same time, I'm also a teacher. I'm teacher constitutional law in the Crane School. I'm also a lawyer.
Okay, and we also have Shawn Hung today with us. Shawn Hung is a founder of Happiness Limited. He is also a Taiwan representative, and he worked at Jangudo Institute Global Coordination Meeting. Can you introduce yourself for the audience?
Yes, thank you, Gui Zhi, and also for Jasmine and Twycc for inviting me. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone from the other side from the planet. My name is Shawn Hung. I'm a Taiwanese systematic practitioner, also a multimedia storyteller. I worked on happiness that collaborates with international NGOs and organizations, and hoping to bring more stories and narratives on climate and environmental solutions to the public.
Okay, thank you, Shawn. Look, in today's section, each speaker will share our experience in issue of the advocacy and climate communication, how narrative takes shape, how community respond, and how cross-sector collaboration can create minimal impact. So let's begin our conversation.
So you go first. Yeah, you go first.
Okay,
you have to introduce what we are doing.
So okay, so I'm going to today I'm the first one to share the story of Plain Law Movement. I want to share what we do and how we think and how we advocate on the climate issue. So today I want to share the story of us. So where we came from, what we have learned, and how we are evolving, especially when we step into climate change communication. First, the Plain Law Movement began with a simple worry. In Taiwan, the law often feel distant, technical, and intimidated. Most people encounter legal issue not with confidence, but with fear. We believe that this gap was not only unnecessary, but harmful to democracy. So we started to rewrite the law and judgment in plain language, clear, direct, and humanity way. What began as a small online project slowly grew into a newsroom, a podcast, and a public-facing legal education platform. So over the year, we have communicated with a wide range of public interest parties, from criminal justice to human rights, and to labor rights, gender equality, digital privacy, disinformation, election, and also the climate change. We explain the new bills, the court decision, and the national debates. Our goal is never just to simplify the law. We are to make the public feel that legal knowledge belongs to them, not just belong to lawyer or official. Our early year taught us an important lesson. Information alone is not enough. If people do not trust the messenger, or if the message does not connect emotionally, the communication will not lead. So we evolve from being explainer of the law to partner in public conversation. We learn to use storytelling, data, real life case, and format like podcasts and short videos to reach people where they are. We learn to speak with empathy, not just expertise. We learn that public engagement is not one way. It requires listening. So as the Taiwanese media environment change, we also adjust. We move from broad public outreach to a more sustainable model built on community and membership. We shift from chasing clicks to build long-term trust. We invest most in transparency, fact-checking, and editorial standard. So ensure we become not only a legal education platform, but a public interest media organization. Okay, so the challenge. So how's our work on the challenge of working on climate change? Climate communication is different from most legal topics we handle. This topic is that the science is complex, the timelines are long, and the political tensions are real. Working with the climate group show us three difficulties. The issue feels distant because people know it is important, but people don't feel it in their daily life. And the policy language is technical, from energy transition to carbon pricing. The terminology creates the barrier. And on the other hand, the movement is emotionally heavy. Activities often carry grief, urgency, and frustration. However, the public may feel tired or overwhelming. So when we collaborate on climate issue, we face the challenge of translating not only the policy, but also emotion behind the work. But this challenge also opens new possibilities. We learn to use human story to make climate real. We learn to show how climate policy connect to fairness, connect to job, connect to health, and connect to democracy. And we learn that the legal system is not separate from climate action. It shapes everything from the land use to industrial transformation and also to environmental justice. So the Plain Law, in closing, the Plain Law movement began with one belief. People deserve to understand the rules that shape their life. So today we take a broad issue, especially climate change. Our mission remains the same. We want to make complex public issue understandable, relatable, and shareable. We want citizens to feel empowered, not intimidated. And we hope to work with all of you to keep building a more informed and engaged society. Thank you. And so the next one we need the next one we need Jasmine to share how's your organization work and what is your organization do, what's the objective your organization to achieve.
Okay, so my organization is Mom Loves Taiwan Association. It was founded originally in 2013. Originally, it was a group of mothers who were very concerned about nuclear issues in the local communities and how to impact the local people. But now it gradually grew and broadened the issue into energy, renewables, and local communities resilient, and also youth empowerment, which is the projects that we have the most. And so we not only do research and policy advocacy, but we also collaborated with different local independent filmmakers or independent local communities, and also like the Plain Law movement, this social media, to try to empower the youth to have their capacity building on storytelling, visual storytelling, or narratives building on climate issues, transforming the environmental complicated issues into more relatable stories. So we grew from watching over nuclear safety to watching over the whole future of our next generations. And what we have observed in the new communication landscape is that with the growing extreme weathers, there's also like more unstable weathers. There's also more unstable trust in the public. So there's a rising tide of misinformation or disinformation in Taiwan about renewable energies, especially after a typhoon has struck and damaging the solar panels by the coast. So I just changed my microphone. I hope it still sounds good.
Good. Everything's fine.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, so there's this growing trend of misinformation and distrust in the energy transition, because as we see like more and more extreme weathers impacting the local communities, and also maybe the process of this energy transition is not always very just and have many communications with the local community. And that leads to politics entering the dialogues of these communications on climate change issues, especially on whether we lack electricity or not, or that on nuclear energy and on solar panels, because recently there's also some rumors about solar panels having toxic waters in the water. So there's a lot of this kind of non-fact-checked local rumors going around, and it has been linked to some public people in the political sphere that make it expand more and more to the local people's minds that, oh, these renewable energies are not safe or not trustable, or that we need to use other ways to have these energy transition. So this entanglement with the misinformation and geopolitics, and the growing trend of the rise of self-media that leads to these kind of information being very fastly spreaded in our lives, not only in Taiwan, but also around the world. But this rise of social media also gives us an opportunity to empower ourselves and empower the next generation to make new narratives, translating the local issues into the public eyes. So that's one of our projects is about Climate Communication Academy. We bring these students to the local community in Miaoli and also in the mountains, an indigenous tribe, which is a tribe called Zouzu. And we follow these hunter Basuya and also other important figures in their village to try to track down the stories of how they are resilient to the climate change and how indigenous way of living with nature can bring what like can reconnect us with the land. And we let these students get in touch with the soil and the water. We make them go into the forest and try to navigate the vocabularies of those indigenous people, so that in the end of the 4 days camp, they would turn these stories that they heard into visual reports that they could tell to the public people. And these reports are also guided by expert mentors who will give them feedback on whether the things that they wrote or the pictures that they capture are relatable or resonant to the public. So this gives them like a capacity building on how to effectively turn these local stories into relatable stories. So this is what one of our main project is doing. And yeah, I'll share it for now.
So now it's Shawn's time. So can Shawn introduce what you do and what's your organization's objective to MS8?
On. Oh, it's on. Okay, thank you. Oh well, thank you, Jasmine, for all that. And there's a lot of I hope there's more exchange between us, and also on how these things on the ground right now at COP30 in Brazil can continue to develop. My name is Shawn. I know I'm founder of Happiness. So the thing that I'm really hoping to do is sort of broaden this concept of climate more on science communications. And to understand what science communication is, I think a good science communicator focus on what I call like the AEIOU. So awareness, emotional resonance, interests, opinion forming, and also understanding. How do we raise these AEIOUs, all of these, through our own words, through stories, through narratives, and also experiences that really would help people see themselves in the movement. And if I may open with, because Jasmine has said a lot already, but to focus, to hone in on that, to give a real example, in Brazil, at the time of COP30 is happening in Belém. So on Saturday, I was there was a big protest, parade happening. All the streets, many streets around this venue was closed down. There were hundreds and thousands of people walking on the streets. Many of them are guardians of this land. They're indigenous peoples of this land. As you can imagine, at the short time, seeing a flood of people from all around the world coming to a city and talking about climate, something that you're very close with, growing up within the Amazon forest. And one thing that really struck me was there was a little girl. I think she was indigenous ascent, and she has a sign that she held up and said, I came back from the future and we won. And that is very interesting. I don't know if she speaks English or Portuguese, but the language was in English. And to me, that sign was a powerful statement, and also shows that how people together actually driving change, not just within, outside of what we call a conference like that, this scale, is equally, if not more important, to put the pressure and also to bring people together, as Guizhi has said, about community building. And that to me is very important, because many people are interested in things, and because that their friends are also interested in. So if we could create spaces and events or activities that bring people out together, so they can invite their friends, their families to, a protest, a community gardening, a cooking class, or anything. I think that's more important, because in places and events that we feel more comfortable, actually it's easier for people to get the information and wanted to talk about it. So to me, it's not only just about the fact, it's also about creating that physical space where people can come together and curate that situation, that circumstances, that people are more willing to be flexible and also open-minded to very complex problems that we don't often think that much when we are so sometimes overwhelmed by our own daily lives. And I think ultimately it's about falling in love in the future. So as you know, I host a podcast and with scientists, and now on the ground with many scientists from all around the world, and also communities who grew up in Brazil. And I think the importance of asking the right question is an essential one, because I often ended with a question about, when you're older now, looking back as a grandparent, what would you want your grandchildren to thank you for? And I think that's a very powerful question, because it shifts the way that how you think and your responsibility in your actions, and also just to think more long term on how your work is going to impact not only yourself but something bigger than you. And so that's what I'm focusing on. I wanted to create more of these conversation on that, so to not only increase the science capital, so how people care about science in their life at this time when we feel like media and science communication can be so bifurcated, especially after post-pandemic. So there's a lot of work to do. I'm sure on the ground these conversations are happening, and we do hope that to create more of these spaces and to work together as one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shawn. Okay,
you.
okay. Since Jasmine and Shawn has already shared what they are doing and what they are work for, so how about Roy?
Yes.
How about Roy? So how's your advocacy? What's your strategy
Yes.
of communication? Do you think the communication is very important for our work, and why?
I think it's very, very, very important thing in our work, but it's very hard to talk about a serious topic because the people on the social media prefer fun, easy content, and that's normal. People like very, very fun information when they just look their cell phone. So if we are too serious, I think people will not pay attention for so long. So when using social media, we must make the topic fun, interesting, so people unexpectedly find the low relevant. People will always watch a content they already like, but the real challenge is explain important thing that haven't thought about yet. That's why I think that being fun and interesting is a key to getting them to watch. For long-term content like podcasts, I think you need to sound more human and real. This means sharing more about your personal experience and yourself to create a closer connection with audience. For example, in our podcast, we not only to share about law information, knowledge, but also we will share our life. We will share how we are holiday, what we are doing.
We put the daily life into
Yes.
our content.
Yes, but I think that is more important because people like to hearing something like this. More than information, more than knowledge. So I think that's the most important thing.
So if we want to communicate the climate change, we want to convey the environmental issue. The most important thing is not the knowledge of the
Not
climate,
only knowledge.
not only the knowledge, but also how our daily life, how our life like connect with this knowledge.
Yes, I think the most important thing. Like if you want to talking about maybe like, okay, for example, for climate change, you want to talking about recycle. Maybe it's not to teach everybody how to recycle. That is boring.
That's boring.
you must share like you like drink some
for plastic bottle.
Yes, you have shared this life experience. I think that's the more important thing.
So how we do recycle in our daily life?
Yeah. So
are you a recycle man?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But yeah,
you're bad.
Yeah, because I drink a lot of plastic water. So I think I need to solve this problem.
But you use your can, right? You have the reusable bottle.
Yeah, I reuse bottle like this.
Okay.
So I think to share to talking about this topic, I think on social media make serious topic fun and to grab attention. For long-term contact like podcast, being real is for a personal to build lasting trust. I think that's the most important thing in our job.
Okay. So I have another question for Jasmine. So for Jasmine, based on your experience while communicating with the topics of climate change and energy transition, what research has been done? For example, do you explore the background of the audience or the connection of the issue with the community? Have you found an effective formula to make people related to the topics? Yes, Jasmine.
Hello. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Many of our audiences are So I think that the research that we need to do before we start like a campaign or the communication is that we need to research on our audience. We need to set an audience that we want to focus on and then target them, see what their interests and values are, like what Roy just said about like people love fun and relatable stuff. So, but there's also many nuances on which generations love what things. So we have different projects based on different age groups. For example, there's a project called Little Solar Panel Engineer. So this project is aimed towards the children, and we wanted them to know more about solar panels and renewable energy. So there's like a booth, and we let those children attend. And when they attend, they could rebuild the infrastructure of the solar panel themselves. Of course, it's not real. It's just like a model. But when they wear those helmets and the vests, and they have those tools on their hands, they would have their hands-on experience on like what does solar panel really mean in front of them. And when those teachers are guiding them to install those solar panels, they will have some knowledge and information on what this renewable energy is about. And the second project that is related to like climate communication is about the local adaptation and resilient building. So we did our research on the target audience, which is a local community in Miaoli. It's called Yuanli. And this local community is very prone to floodings and extreme weathers. So they have their vulnerable spots. But also we wanted to respond to their needs on facing these climate change issues. So we gathered the town officials and the educators in the towns and also the local communities to map out what are the potential risks and what are some potential risk management protocols that we could take before something extreme happens. So we did our research on these local audiences first, and then try to see what they need in order to build a resilient community. Because there are many nuances in different contexts of the community. So we need to avoid generalizing different places, but everything is very contextualized. So this is the research that we have to done to research on the local context. Context is everything. And the third project is the project that we collaborated with Plan Love Movement, which we train young people to get them to know about the tools, how to use social media, reels, how to create reels, how to create podcasts, and how to create short-term contents and posts to translate these environmental issues into fun, inspiring ones. So we train them into writing proposals, writing how these contents are formed, and also how to produce them. And before we train them, we have to do research on what are the current young people, what are the platforms they're on. And so we need to do so in summary, we need to have research on the audience, target audience, and also the local context. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jasmine, I have a further question for you. How was the idea arise for the little solar panel and engineer project? Because for in general, when we talking about the general communication with the general public on climate change, we often the audience was supposed to be the general public, especially for the grown up, but the audience of this project you choose for the
Child.
for children.
Children.
So how did this idea arise?
Actually, I'm not the founder. Like when it was created, I was not part of the project, but I believe that intergenerational knowledge and passing down our knowledge to different generations and seeing what they value, what their interests are. Different generations, they have their own way of seeing the world, and we also need to pass down our way of seeing the world to them, especially on tackling climate change and extreme weather issues. We need to let them know that these renewable energies are very essential to building resilient in communities. So there needs to be knowledge transfer for these generations. And of course, when they get to know about these solar panel issues, they in the future, if they see some information about solar panels maybe being destructed or like some negative viewpoints on these solar panels, they will have their own capacity and their own knowledge that's already have the foundation to see whether this information is true or not. So we don't make them see in one perspective. We just educate how this kind of solar panels are being built and what are the components inside these solar panels. So in the future, when they face these recurring issues, they could know they could have their own thoughts on their issue instead of just being informed by the media and being not having the foundational knowledge. So
Okay. I have a question for Shawn because in my point of view, I think okay. In my point of view, I think the most important thing to express content is fun. And what you're saying says, if we want to understand the SAM's communication, you mentioned the AEIOU. But I'm interested, I want to hear your point of view is about emotion. So in your point of view, can you explain more about to be SAM's communication? What's the most important point in emotion?
Well, okay. Well, that's a very, very good question. Actually, that's also one I struggled with when I started my podcast. But I think what I found, the answer is actually unlock identity. Let me just further explain. Sometimes when we see someone maybe with a fancier title, with a more, when we call them scientists, we call them policymakers. Sometimes we have these preconceived knowledge that we attach to them. And we sort of judge them before they say anything. And to me, the emotion comes from sort of taking off that label or even giving them more labels. So for example, I've worked with research institutions that are, academic scientists, what most people will find, not as fun or interested or exciting. But some of them, they are also people. They have interests. They have groups that they work with. They have other, some of them have many, many life experiences. One of them is Dr. Leah Yu. She's German, but she comes from, she's from China, but she's a German, working there as an academic. But she's also a metal rock band singer. And then she teaches political philosophy and political science. But the way she do it is she use her book and her language and what she's good at and put it into the lyrics of her rock band song. And to me, to humanize people is very, very important in this time. And to bring out that emotion, we have to feel that it's a person, not just someone who is there to deliver knowledge or a message that feels very factual and like more on the reason side. So to balance that thinking and feeling, I think the key is to show a person and its multifaceted ways of how they show up in the world. And we all have our other sides. I would say myself as a cinephile. I love movies. I love gardening. I love cooking. All of these aspects, I think, could tie into the subject that we care so much about. When we talk about cooking, there's no gardening, there's no cooking without growing food, and without a good food system and understanding of where those food come from, we will not ended up. I think a good cook could be a very, very good gardener too. And to me, those interests of people, that multifaceted aspect of what one person can encompass, it's very important, because those emotions can make us empathize and also raise what I said earlier, the science capital. So people would want to know how they can create. So I really agree with what my colleagues here said about authenticity and bringing your personality into the things that you work with, because it's only through showing that you are a person that also has struggles, that also trying to balance work, life, relationships, that brings people closer and wanted to understand you more deeply and listen to you. And to me, that's at least the first step. And here at Brazil at COP30, I'm sure for us, it's a great opportunity, of course, to get to know people with backgrounds that are so different from us. But at the same time, we still have this collective vision, a common ground that we have established, that when we're here, there's something that we all care about. And it's only through understanding that person and who they are a little bit deeper, while also being open to sharing about who you are, not just your profession, but many, many aspects of your life, that I think could mobilize people and gather people on things that they really wanted to do and their actions.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would like to add a point. You made me remember something that I heard from a podcast, saying that nowadays it's no longer the politics of left or right. It's nowadays it's the politics of separation or connection, disconnection or connection. So nowadays, like, there are many politicians or many social media discourse that wanted us to not care about something, or make us very individualized, like this is the thing that we care about only. But we wanted to create something that would connect with everything, because essentially we are all interconnected, we are all one, everything that we do are interconnected. So for example, like in COP30, that we all observe that there are a lot of indigenous communities coming here to raise awareness on their struggles, and also how this is connected to us. And also Palestinian or Gazan people, they come here to tell us about the genocide, of how it intersects with the indigenous people struggles and also colonization. So everything would be, their struggles are just a little piece of struggles that is already happening in different communities. And now we are trying to link these things together so that we could reconnect with each other, with our own selves, and also the land, to better face the future together, to build a more resilient future. So this is what I would like to add on.
Okay, thank you for you guys sharing, and I'm very agreeing with Shawn, what you say about the struggle, because I think in a lot of social topic, we have a lot of struggle.
Because you struggle.
Yeah, because people have a different opinion, and what my opinion sometimes, very often, my opinion or answer is I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. So I have a lot of struggle in this kind of issue, and I want to try to know about more knowledge in this issue. But I think sometimes very struggle. Yeah.
Okay. We have a common from YouTube, and we have a friend Kelly. Kelly on YouTube asks both of you. Both of you are Taiwanese, and you are Taiwanese youth in the COP30. And Kelly wants to know what is the role of Taiwanese youth in COP30. So I think both of you, Jasmine and Shawn, is the best person to answer this question. Can both of you to answer this question to Kelly? What is the role of Taiwanese youth in COP30?
So Mom Loves Taiwan Association, we also, this year we trained youths from Taiwan Youth Climate Coalition for them to get to know the process of COP and the UNFCCC so that they could come to Brazil and really get to know how it really works and how do we young people, no matter in Taiwan or anywhere else, to engage in these negotiations and try to have a seat at the table or influence something. So for Mom Loves Taiwan and Taiwan Youth Climate Coalition, which I'm also volunteering in, we joined the Youngo constituency. This is like a youth network underneath this COP conferences. So it's not only like party world leaders that could join the negotiations, but there's also a lot of civil societies, youth, farmers, women, gender, indigenous peoples. They have their own network, their own little constituency that there is a mechanism for us to participate in different working groups and different issues that you're interested in, to work with other young people around the world and try to talk with the negotiators or influence something inside the negotiation text. So I think Taiwanese youth, we could use this channel as our way to amplify our Taiwanese voices into the international sphere. But when we're in this space, we are representing the young people. So it's not like we're merged into the youth. We're representing the youth voices, and we need to speak on behalf of other generations that are children or like our future generations. So the role of Taiwanese youth is also the role of intergenerational voices.
Okay. Yeah, if I may add more a little bit on that. Thank you, Jasmine. Well, we are communicators. I'm trying to my best to not oversimplify, but make people understand. If we see COP as a football game, now we're on the latter half of the game, right? Sometimes as at youth, we are, when you watch football, at the very end, sometimes they will bring someone up and then give them some time and kick, and then maybe they only have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and they have to come down. And sometimes I feel like youth are playing that role of when we're coming to a game, at the end, we're asked to go up and then, help the team in a way and sort of change the dynamic and also strategies, what's happening on the ground. Same analogy could be made for people who are local, who have very much local experiences, who live in Brazil, could be indigenous groups, could be Brazilian scientists who know the ground. They are often sidelined as players, but they know the field very, very well. So it's very interesting in these international spaces to actually observe and also understand where we are sort of in this ecosystem, even though it's a 2-week short, brief event. But to see our role and how it plays and influence the dynamics and how the conversations are happening, not just in the negotiating rooms, but in the press rooms, in booth and pavilions, between country delegates, also outside of the venue. I think that's exactly what needs to happen and what our role is. For one, I would say we're all sitting here as a very privileged position to be here. We stand sittings, but we stand as one, but we come with hundreds and thousands behind us. There are many people in Taiwan who may not have this opportunity. So we acknowledge that there's a responsibility, but also what you said, fun, to actually come here and engage and participate and actually gather and bring people together, because that to me is what people, if we look at history, people who know how to shake the world, who know how to bring change, they know how to gather and mobilize people. And to me, speaking for myself, it's a learning opportunity, but above that, it's actually a great way to see and understand who you are in the world and facing such a complex and difficult issue, that what your role can be. And so I've, as you said earlier at the bio, I've worked closely with the Jane Goodall Institute and partnership with them. And Dr. Jane has been a great hero, mentor of mine. It's an honor to even call her a friend, and known her since I was a very young boy. And to me, to have that mentorship and vision of someone you look up to, it's a very important. And to me, I would, if I could send a message back to Taiwan to people who are watching and maybe youth, is to find those people you wanted to work with, to mentor you. And I think so you can have that tools and knowledge to pass it on, to engage the head, the heart, and also the hand. And to be in spaces like this, it's not just about the talk. There's a lot of talking now, but it's really not just about the talk. It's about building these relationships with people, because in the end, it's only with them that we can move forward. And as a Taiwanese, I think all of us sort of play this little diplomatic role in where we are right now. And sustainability or environment or climate, whatever you want to put a label on, it's just one piece. And to us, we often hear this champion of Taiwan, Taiwan 之光. We often say this, and I think this can come from anywhere. Can come from everyone could be in their own respective fields. There is places for everyone, and to us, this is one chance for us to engage with the international community and also showcase what we are doing back home in Taiwan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shawn. I have another question for you, because you say you are a communicator. So I'm really interested. I'm wondering that how do you think about what is the potential influence if the collaboration happen for climate change communication?
Sorry, can you repeat that again? Sorry.
So what is the potential influence if the collaboration happen for the climate change communication? For example, do you think the cooperation between traditional media and social media is possible? And if it's possible, how is the potential influence of them?
Okay, it's possible. Okay, I think that question, I don't only think it's possible. I think it's necessary at this point when we see different advantage and disadvantage between traditional legacy media and what we call more like self media or social media, this sort of newer space. I think it's necessary because in such a fractured world, we can talk about more of the how to monetize the fund or for creators, but I think long form videos, like for YouTube, there's already sort of quite established way of monetizing, but for short term there isn't many. But I know that short term form videos are being more and more popular. And to me, social media, I feel like it's a testing ground actually for many legacy media, as a space to see if the topic is what could bring and stir up conversation, also bring awareness and attention to important topics of the day or of the week, in this case for climate, for a long term. So I think actually the hard part is not the collaboration itself, it's the maintenance work that happens. How do you keep things, how to keep the momentum going so it doesn't feel that it's so reactive? So to try to pursue more response than reaction, I think that's sort of the key point that a lot of legacy media are trying to do, which I know can be very difficult because we live in a world, for the political cycle, media cycle, it's all very fast paced, very short form. But I do think that collaboration comes with bringing the personality, the fun, the more, let's say, sexy way of communicating with social media, also with the credibility, the established access of information and a budget from legacy media. I do think there needs to be a way that we have a hybrid mode of these two, and for both, for traditional or more professional journalists, they have the analytical skills of writing about a complex issue, but how can we transform and translate that into something that would help capture people's attention, that they want to read and understand deeper, is what I think scientific communicators at this age have to do. And I'm sure that also is a responsibility and something that a lot of scientists around the world are thinking about, because it's not only just about paper and publishing, it's also how these findings can actually inform policies and actually change communities' life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shawn. I have another question for Jasmine. So Jasmine, as a climate NGO's activity, your goal is to empower people with solution. So I'm wondering that how do you shift from a purely problem-focused narrative to one that emphasizes solution and individual agency?
So how do we shift from problem focused to mobilizing the individual to act upon these issues? I think I want to resonate what Shawn has said about we need to create more response rather than reaction, because nowadays these problem focused issues, it's created on the sense of urgency that we need to do more, act fast. Of course it's important, but I think we need to be more focused on the solution instead of the feeling of urgency, or communicate the progress more on the urgency side, so that we could, if we're more on the reactive side or more focused on the problem, then we would stuck into the flight or fight mode, and that would make people not able to create those agency to act, because the problem is too big or too overwhelming for them. So communicate more on the progress of where we are now and what have we done good, rather than the urgency. And I think we can give more voices to the community and their stories of how they try to build resilient or find solutions in their context, because these kind of stories would bring hope to people, thinking that there's actually solutions everywhere, but it's just we need to amplify those voices. For example, when we were in the mountains and we were with the Basuya hunter and also the indigenous people, they told us the story of how they make their crops adapt to the climate change, because in the future there will be more droughts or more unstable weather. So they grow their plants in with different generations themselves, and they make the plants adapt to the weather throughout the generation, so that the plants could know the weather and adapt through them throughout these lineages. So this is kind of the story of how those local communities build resilience in their crops. And I think these kind of stories brings hope and solutions and enables people to think, oh, what can I do in my own community? So focus more on the community rooted storytelling, and also give people roles. Give people roles. For example, in our youth climate communication academy, we frame it as like the capacity building, skill building for how to turn these issues into contents on social media. So we give them a role of, you are the creator of these contents, you are the translator. So they know that what they have a role on. And yeah, I think know how to turn these problem-focused issues into individual agency. We need to transform the fear into meaningful actions. Instead of living in the fear of the future, we need to be more focused on the present and what we can do. What are the small incremental changes that we could act upon that could change in the local community? So if we see it very long term, maybe we will not have that much hope. But if we focus on the little steps that we could do, then we could build more agency on the individuals.
Okay, thank you. I think a lot of Taiwanese audience are very unfamiliar about the COP30, but also people may be very interested. And I think there are a lot of happens over these 2 weeks. So I would like to ask in next few days, what discussion topic would be worth to sharing with everyone? I think both of you can answer this question.
Maybe Shawn first.
Okay, so for the next few days, you mean?
Yeah, next few days.
For next few days,
Well,
what kind of activity might happen, and what is the most important part we can focus?
we can focus. Well, there's so many topics. I mean, there's everything, and for the UNFCCC, they have topics for each 2 days. There are different topics on biodiversity, on climate financing, and everything. But the thing that I personally would really wanted to learn more about is actually on the ground with Brazil, between restoration and energy transition for renewables. And I think because this time most countries have delivered their NDCs for Taiwan as well. There are a lot of different ambition roadmap. So I think there's also a lot of tensions on, of course, fossil fuels on phasing out. We'll see how it will go. I've been talking to people here, and I do feel like there's a momentum growing. Many countries are also willing to participate in these conversations, albeit could be they're always difficult to bring consensus in places like that. But one more thing I wanted to highlight, sorry I had to write it down. It's about the 12 countries actually signed the Declaration on Information Integrity on Climate. And I think that's very related to what we are talking about today on this session about a global commitment to combat misinformation that threatens the fight against climate crisis, and also calls on government to create policies of transparency and safety. So it's for journalists, it's for scientists, and it's for environmental advocates and activists everywhere to ensure that they also have the public access and also the right information and to bring it out to the world. And so to me, that's one of the very big focus I am spending my time on.
And Jasmine, would you like to promote the upcoming event?
Yes. So tomorrow in the morning and in the afternoon, we will still hold sessions on climate adaptation and resilience. How do we see this issue? And also about climate finance, and what is COP talking about in regards to climate finance, and also what do different organizations in Taiwan think or internationally think about the issues of climate finance nowadays, because it's very complicated. So you got the chance to get to know these issues tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Does Jasmine, do you want to highlight anything during this day in the COP30? Any information, anything you know?
For me, because our team, we divided into different working groups. Like for me, I joined the Food and Agriculture Working Group of Youngo, which is the youth network and constituency. And we have partners joining the Just Transition Working Group and also finance. So there are different streamlines of the issues that we focus on. For me, the Food and Agriculture Working Group, we focus on the negotiations of this topic, but now we see that the negotiation is going to be discussed more in the next June, which is the bond session, the middle meeting in the year. So there's not much that advanced for my topic, but what I witnessed is there's a lot of indigenous peoples and the marches and the protests that we see of how they this is a chance for these different tribes of indigenous people that exist in the Amazon to come together as one and to call for the government and the presidency, and also a lot of lobbyists like agribusinesses and oil companies, these businesses to call for action on getting their land back and also getting their voices heard in the negotiation rooms. So this COP is actually the COP that has the most indigenous presence in among the history. So more than 5,000 indigenous people around the world has participated. So this is a very interesting and also a very good chance for us to, also for Taiwanese audience, to think about how we in Taiwan, how we relate to these communities, and if they really have a presence in the political sphere, if they really have their voices or actions being taken, or their presence in Taiwan. So I think this is what we could look forward, and also when the negotiation text of other issues come out this week, we could see how to turn these issues and bridge them to Taiwan's context to see what our policy is lacking, especially our NDC, that each country would have their own roadmap of cutting emissions and reducing the impacts of environment. So what does Taiwan, how is Taiwan talking about this, our own roadmap? This is what we could all do to take these things back to Taiwan.
I also have a further question for Shawn. So for Shawn, what are the trends and the prospect for communication topics on social media for you?
You mean the trends for COP, or I mean trends on social media? Wow. Okay. I think people now, at least what I'm trying to focus on this COP is actually a lot of regional aspects of what Asia Pacific, how the Asia Pacific region can play a role, especially Taiwan, Korea, Japan, all the way to Southeast Asia, to Australia. I do think to build on what Jasmine said about NDC, these regional collaborations on how different supply chain or how communities can work together on projects, I think it's just as important. That regional aspect to me, and as a Taiwanese, that Taiwan can help model that we heard a lot about is focusing on partnership, not just our diplomatic allies, but also many, and this, what's happening on the ground when the US, there's no official delegation from them at this time. Our role in the region, how can we contribute to the broader conversation and also projects on the ground? And to me, that trend is really tied in, of course, geopolitical tensions and also a lot of uncertainty happening. And so one thing that I learned about when I communicate with scientists is about trying our best to communicate the precision of risk, to understanding how risk take places in negotiations and how it influences decision making. Because sometimes when you say 1.5 degrees, 2 degrees, there's a probability to that. For many decision makers, they can say it as a probability, and they don't really want to talk that much about it with something is not so certain. So to be comfortable in that uncertainty, I think it's a very difficult thing, but something that a lot of decision makers and of course the media is grappling with nowadays. So I think the broader trend, if we're looking at broader trend, would be the future is a lot of them is thinking about using technological tools, monitoring for adaptation and mitigation for communities, especially in developing countries. And so to me, it's very also about observing what Taiwan's role is as a very tech-based, I would say, industry and manufacturing region, how can we work with our partners, especially in the region? And I think that Asia Pacific region has a lot of potential in leading the transition. Yeah.
Okay, I have some thought like the people know that Taiwan is an island and climate change is deeply connect to us, but many people in Taiwan still very unfamiliar with it, and I think that is exactly the kind of problem we must address when communicating social issue. So today we share our thought on how to communicate public issue, and also share what's happening on the ground at COP30. And I also hope that people in Taiwan, we often talk about having an international perspective. I think people maybe can pay more attention on these matters. So how about your thought?
For me, always try to communicate. Always try communicate with the general public is very important on every social issue.
Yes,
especially climate change. And just as I mentioned before, climate change issue is some of the difficult topic to communicate with general public because it is complicated in science.
Yes,
and it's difficult to relate it to the people's daily life.
Yes.
So the communication itself becomes much more important than another social agenda for me. But
Could you repeat that again? Sorry, Roy, we missed you. There was a connection issue. I'm sorry.
Oh, there's a connection issue. Okay. So what I just mentioned before, the climate change is a very difficult. It's much difficult than to communicate with the general public than the other social issue, because it is complicated in science and it's difficult to relate it with the people's daily life. So it shows the difficulty, and but it also shows the importance of the communication, the communication on this issue. But so I think today's talk, today's talk is we learn a lot from today's talk.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Shawn. Thank you for you here with us and with the audience online. We have lots of people online with us today.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Okay, I think maybe we can.
我们因为线上还有一些观众，
对，
所以我们也可以用中文跟大家稍微聊一下，因为我们跟大家练习了很久的，我们让大家练习了很久的英文。那其实我们线上的这个听众呢，应该因为好几个平台加起来应该有破100位啦。大家其实大家可能也很想要知道一些大家很想用中文知道一些跟 COP30 有关的一些最新资讯，这样子。所以我想虽然我们已经收尾了，然后现场我想可能大多数人不一定应该都不听懂中文，但是我们稍微自嗨一下，让线上的朋友也可以吸收到一些最新的资讯，这样子。所以既然进入到中文模式了，我想因为现在是面向我们法白的听众跟观众，所以我们两个就先不自我介绍，我们把时间留给两位，什么事情两位再用中文这次自我介绍一次，让跟我们线上听众再介绍一次，这样子。
好，自我介绍吼。
对，就跟刚刚一样，就介绍一下你是谁，然后做些什么事情这样子。
好，我叫做 Jasmine， 然后我是来自妈妈气候行动联盟，我现在在这边正职工作，然后我的就是工作主要内容是就是培训台湾青年气候联盟的一群国际部的成员，让他们去了解COP30 还有 UN 的联合国系统是怎么谈论气候变迁，然后主要就是加入一个就是这个联合国底下气候变迁纲要公约的一个青年社群，让他们去透过这个社群了解 现场谈判的进程，还有要怎么以青年的身份去参与这些讨论。那我们在就是一整年都有培训，就是从3、4月开始，然后到现在就是我们的代表团有在现场，那就是我们就有分不同的议题去追踪。应该就这样。
OK， 那 Shawn 呢？谢谢。那 Shawn 要不要跟大家自我介绍一下？
大家好，我是 Shawn Hung。那我是Happiness 的创办人，然后同时也有 host 这个 Happiness Podcast。那主要关注的议题其实从人文到科学社会的各个层面都有。那我自己是我的背景是脑神经科学，那后来在国际的智库有待过，然后慢慢对政策相关的研究还有倡议有更多的理解。然后这次是我第一次来 COP， 然后很幸运可以跟其他在这里一起的台湾的伙伴一起，就是针对气候跟环境相关的资讯，还有人权，还有叫做 just transition， 就是公正转型这些相关的议题做更深入的研究跟探讨。那同时也是有另外参与青年100亿圆梦计划，然后在世界各地希望可以把更多实际的案例带回去给台湾。
不好意思，Shawn，我好奇问一个问题，就是因为你刚刚有想说原本是脑神经科学的专业，但为什么突然对于政策提倡这件事情会感到兴趣，然后之后做这方面的事情，蛮好奇的。
这是一个很好的问题，因为就是你懂，读了很多心理跟研究科学比较硬的这种的科学了解大脑之后，我发现很多在沟通，还有甚至在传播讯息上面，其实很多都回归到人这件事情，怎么理解人在对于做决策，然后情绪，然后记忆，然后语言这些相关，对我们来讲可能是就是每个人都会经历，然后同时都共同的这些人，我们说成为人类的这些元素，我觉得非常尤其在政策，尤其在倡议这些东西非常非常重要，因为有时候在讲政策跟这些东西感觉非常的高，非常的远。那我认为，所以我才会希望透过像 podcast 比较更多感觉更亲近于人、贴近于人的方式去传播、跟表达、跟传达这些重要的议题。那我觉得这一切就是来自于了解人类如何对于资讯，如何对于会得到什么，会失去什么的这些决策，还有对于风险的管理等等，我觉得都是非常非常紧密相连的。
那我想
我可以插播一件事情，
请说。
就是现场我发现我们讲英文的时候很少人，然后现在讲中文大家都聚集在这边。
好，
但是大家都是就是外国人，
所以他们看起来对华文可能比较有兴趣。
那我们需要帮他翻译一下吗？
对 ，Do we need to translate? But I think I don't have any ability to translate.
You can try.
不用，他们只是喜欢看我们讲中文吧。
对
，OK， 好，
这个声音太美妙了。那我好奇两位，因为两位是这个台湾的青年，然后在这个国际的场合参加这个 COP30，你们自己的一个观察怎么样？就是你们可以跟我们线上的听众朋友分享一下，作为一个台湾青年，在这样一个场合，在这样一个国际场合，你们有没有一些学到的东西，或者是可以感受到一些东西，又或者是你们跟其他国家的青年交流的话，有没有一些有趣的经验可以分享？
对，我其实我想追问一个问题，是说我们好奇说他们其他国家的人在做这些议题的倡议的时候所碰到的困境，跟我们有什么样子的一个落差？这样子。
其他青年在倡议的时候的困境，因为我们都是就是在那个工作小组里面跟青年有比较多的互动，然后我们就可以观察到他们他们怎么去策略，要怎么在现场，就是这个可以遇到很多谈判代表、国家代表的机会，去试图跟他们有冲上去，然后去跟他们谈话，建立关系，还有试图去邀请他们去聆听我们的声音的一些机会。所以比较多的困境可能就是怎么去在这些很匆忙 就是这些谈判代表很匆忙的行程过程中，让他们可以停下来，然后听见青年的声音。然后我们可能就是像我们的工作小组就有举办一场，就是跟这些谈判代表的 round table， 然后就是我们就有邀请这些谈判代表来跟我们青年有这样子的分享，他们在就是谈判过程中遇到的困境，还有一些他们觉得未来这个关于粮食系统的谈判在未来会呈现怎么样子。然后就是因为有安排这场会议，我们才可以去听见这些谈判代表的声音，但是就是这些代表他们都行程很匆忙，然后很满，所以我们就需要去参加这些 negotiation， 然后在这些谈判结束后就是冲上去，然后去跟他们谈话，然后顺便邀请他们来这个我们的场次。所以就是有很多跟这些青年互动，看怎么去 strategize 去策略这些跟谈判代表更进一步的互动的机会。对，那我就是在这个会场也会遇到各国的人，然后还有各国的倡议者，像是我昨天晚上就是我昨天遇到一位导演，然后他是 Cultures of Resistance 这个纪录片工作室的导演，他就是透过很多的艺术音乐去融入他的纪录片，让一般人可以很轻松的去了解一些不为人知的当地的在地的一些在地人的 struggle， 无论是就是岛屿国家或是非洲的一些小 communities 他们的 struggle 的议题。然后就是遇到这导演之后，就是又遇到了就是前一阵子有一群人他们自己搭船，然后要前往加萨去救援这些支援这些加萨的人，然后就是跟他们吃了晚餐之后才发现，就是他们这些人都是有被以色列困在以色列逮捕的，然后就是现在的情况是多么的危急，还有就是这些的议题是多么互相的关联的，所以就是它整个是让我们的观点有更另一层的交织性吧，就跟全球的其他的运动。
How about Shawn？
可以
稍等，我好，如果这边回答的话，我觉得对，像 Jasmine 讲的，我觉得很多的观察其实来自于跟刚才讲的很多人的对话里面，因为像这次的大会 COP30 的主题其实有一个 Global Multilateral， 就是这种全球共作的协作精神。那我觉得其实有很多的元素在会场内外都可以感受得到，不管是艺术家也好，公共的在 protest 在倡议的也好，或是这个原住民族他们在。大家应该有看到新闻，上周有很多的示威游行的部分。那对我来说，很多就是来自于地主国的很多政策跟相关他们内部的人民，希望可以透过这个机会去让世界看到他们。我相信，如果今天这个活动办在其他国家，也是会一样的，就是大家会想尽各种权利，就是用尽各种方式，希望大家可以更看见他们。那其实很多很有趣的对话，其实都是在周边有非常非常多比较多开放的方式，可以感觉没有这么官方的方式可以去聊各个议题。那对我来讲，跟 Jasmine 讲这个公正转型和这个议题，其实是这次很多人一直被拿出来探讨的。那我跟其他的有这边当地亚马逊的原住民，还有其他的伙伴，还有其他青年领袖，他们其实对于这个议题，他们也非常非常的做了非常非常多的努力，希望可以透过这两周短短的时间，可以把这个议题就是 push 到很上面，就是让决策者可以纳入他们，因为他们并不希望巴西本地的很多产业相关的政策跟方针违背，或是跟他们的承诺有矛盾。那我觉得这些有趣跟矛盾的地方，其实也看得出台湾在这个会场里面，在这个区域的关系上面，我们可以扮演什么样的角色？那 可以说，当然没有像很多我们可能邻近的国家有这么大的 presence， 就是有这么多的位置或是代表的人。但是我认为重要的是，我们可以运用每一次的机会，让其他人更了解到我们其实在台湾的一些努力。那这也就是我认为我们来这边最主要的目的，跟我们希望达成的是把这些共筑出来的合作的经验，或是希望可以延展到未来很多的方案。那因为有在讨论关于明年，也不确定会在哪边，目前也在讨论，但也希望可以，如果假设是澳洲或土耳其的话，澳洲这边有很多的方针跟愿景是台湾可能可以跟澳洲还有东南亚国家一起协作的部分，那我们就希望把这个精神持续的延续下去。那也不希望说这个会议结束之后这些就结束了这样子，所以我觉得这部分我认为是青年之间可以非常push 的一点，就是希望可以把这个 momentum keep up 的 momentum 把这个动能继续往前的滚动。但也看得出来这一次的活动会场里面青年的代表他们就很多都出来发表关于他们在自己的 community 自己的社群里面所做的东西，然后如何影响他们自己周边。那我认为这些其实都非常非常重要，因为这些传达故事的人有这个技术或是习惯用科技来传达他们故事的人是可能是这一次非常非常非常多，然后未来也会有更多。那就是透过刚才讲到很多，我们其实前面有聊到很多关于这种媒体的 legacy media 大的媒体的公司，还有这个小的协作自媒体的公司怎么去协作这件事情。我认为大家都还在很多 figure out， 那同时也知道可能不会是一次就成功，但我觉得这种实验性的性质跟这种很多的可能性，就是在这种不同的对话跟这个风险不是风险，对不起，矛盾之间产生。然后我们也很期待看到未来有更多台湾跟国际上还有在区域或是国际间有更多交流跟合作的机会。
我们线上，因为我们是线上直播，一直会有一些新的观众朋友加入嘛。我跟大家报告一下，我们现在是在跟 COP30 在现场连线的一个直播，就是我们因为今年的 COP30 它是在巴西举办，所以我们现在是在跟巴西的这个现场进行直播。那我们有2位在现场的台湾代表青年，然后一位是 Jasmine， 一位是 Shawn， 然后我们在这边跟他们做现场的直播。
没错，
这边快速跟大家介绍一下什么是 COP30， 它是联合国气候变迁纲要公约的第30届缔约国大会。所以每一年这个缔约国都会在这个 COP 呢去讨论各国的这个减碳的这个目标要如何来达成，以及设在哪里。那今年这是第30届，那会是第2次的全球盘点年。那今年的一个关注重点当然就会是各国会不会在这一次的 COP30 上面呢达成更具有雄心壮志的承诺，因为我们距离这个2050年这个净零排碳这个是越来越近了，而且这个气候变迁这个升温的速度呢看起来是这个有增无减，所以大家都非常的这个焦虑，说那个能不能够这个各国可以在 COP30 上面呢赶快拿出更好的一个，赶快定出一个更具有雄心壮志的一个目标，让这个目标是可以赶快达成这样。所以也好奇2位因为2位就在 COP30 的这个现场，那你们的观察，你们觉得这一次有这个机会看到一个更好的一个更让人乐观的一个结果吗？Jasmine 觉得呢？
我觉得就是我之前用英文讲的时候，就是有提到，因为今年是第一次这么多原住民族有一起参加这个 COP 大会，就我们在现场都可以看到很多戴着羽毛、很多亮丽羽毛还有耳环羽毛的这些原住民族，就是这次是有就是超过5000位原住民族有一起参加，那就是我们可以而且就还有上周的那些示威游行，我们可以期待看见的是，在这些气候的讨论里面，就不会只是就是那个比较技术层面的讨论，而是变成是很多文化还有精神层面，还有原住民族的传统知识如何，其实是就是让我们更永续的与地球与其他生物和谐共处的一个很核心的 他们的文化是非常核心的一个需要保护的东西。那就是可以期望的是，就是未来的这些 COP， 就是它设下一个标准，那未来的 COP 就需要去更加的谈论这些事情，去 highlight 这些原住民族在这些近邻转型或是气候变迁的议题上面的角色。这是未来可以期望的事情。
对，因为就是跟晨那个 Jasmine 所说的类似，这次的很多的，我们看到会场的人其实都是带着某种使命感而进来。然后对我来讲，这次在如果做政策跟谈判方面，其实很多是在于怎么做落实这件事情，尤其是开发中国家如何对在这个领域，在这个气候的环境里面，他们怎么得到 access， 就是对的资金的来源，还有不管是国际上的合作或是资金的来源，然后让他们可以实际在他们当地做很多相关的转型正义的这个议题。那对我来讲，这个落实这一部分有很多，其实也是我们这个区域一直在努力的地方。然后我相信台湾在这个部分也一直都在希望可以让我们的近邻的路线可以更实际被实现这样子。然后我觉得这个 struggle 是这个困难的地方，是其实每一个国家都是。那这个刚才讲的这个雄心壮志这件事情，我认为是很重要，因为在这边就是大家要有一种士气，感觉是带动不停的在滚动，希望可以把这个东西落定下来。但我相信在未来的几天，我们还剩下几天，不知道会延续，会不会超时，或者延续在更多天。但是这一部分我认为在以青年的角度跟国际其他青年的角色对话的过程里面，我发现他们其实每个人都是有一种使命感，他们希望可以第一个展现他们自己国家在这个方面的努力，第二个是把他们自己社群里面的声音以及跟他们相同背景人的故事带到国际的会场里面，第三个是实际的参与，还有合作在谈判的过程里面。那我觉得这部分其实都是相信对我而言，我相信对 Jasmine 也是非常好的学习的方式。那我们也希望说可以更加扩展台湾在亚太地区甚至国际性的这种青年的网络，然后把这个动能再带到的潜能发挥出来。
刚刚Shawn提到说，你说这一次的 COP30 上面呢，这个有国家达成的一个宣言，是要合作对抗这个气候变迁相关的假讯息，是这样吗？
喂，对，它是那个 Declaration on Information Integrity on Climate。对，因为现在我记得在 IPCC 的 Annual Report 6里面就有提到说，对于资讯的科学的资讯这件事情的传播的真实正确性这件事情变得是非常非常重要的一环。因为现在遇到了很多在气候跟环境上面的很多的假的讯息，错误讯息或者是虚假讯息这件事情，我认为大会里面也在很多的国家也体认到这件事，然后所以签署希望从国际的承诺，希望可以让资讯有关于环境跟气候的相关资讯是更安全、更透明，而且是可以触及到更多的人。那对我来讲，其实是对多方，尤其是不管是环境的、气候的倡议者、科学家，对他们来讲都是 win-win， 就是非常有利的事情。因为很多的错误讯息跟假讯息，可能来自于背后有非常大的资金的协助，或是有刻意创造错误的叙事来误导，或是想要放慢，或是就是阻挠这个很多决策的进行。那对我们来说，这个资讯的生态系变成是目前在传播讯息里面一个非常大的问题，但同时也看得出来这个方面也一直被拿出来提。那我自己是很乐观，然后也希望说可以有更多的国家对于资讯的体系这件事情，我相信在台湾不管现在收听还是都很有感，就对于假的讯息、错误讯息怎么影响到我们每天的日常生活还有决策， 都是息息相关的，所以这部分我一直都有在希望可以再更进一步关注。对，谢谢。
Shawn，不好意思，我想问一个关于就是专有名词的问题，因为我们只要提到气候，通常后面加什么东西都常常成为一个大家关注的议题。例如说，像我自己就很关注所谓气候诉讼。那其实你刚刚在前面1个小时，你用在英文在跟我们对答的时候，你有提到气候融资这件事情。那我个人非常非常好奇，你想跟我们观众分享气候融资它是一个什么样子的东西，它要发挥什么样子的一个作为
呢？Jasmine 对于这部分应该比我了解
OK，
有多一点深入。我们问问看。
好，麻烦 Jasmine。
气候融资的部分嘛，就是目前的大家在讨论气候融资的，就主要有分就是历史的责任，在全球脉络底下，就是哪些国家他们可能是，他们对于气候变迁造成气候变迁的影响其实是很少，但是他们需要付出的代价是最多的，所以就是主要在 COP30 谈论的是这些已开发的国家，他们要怎么去动员这些资金到这些历史上比较弱势的国家，去协助他们调试或是转型。那另外一方面是就是绿色金融的部分，可能就是国内我们要如何去让我们的资金转向比较不是那么高，就是不是高碳排，然后又就是比较绿色的基础建设上面，还有青年的一些资金。那就是这2大脉络是目前就是气候资金在讨论的事情。那我不多说，因为我们明天早上明天会有另外一场，就是也是有连线的气候融资的活动，所以就是大家可以明天我们的粉专上面都有 po 我们的资讯，在妈妈气候行动联盟的粉专上面。
OK， 所以是看到这边的这个朋友，希望大家如果对于气候融资这件事情有更多的兴趣的话，就直接到妈妈气候联盟上面进行追踪，他们脸书按个 IG，
那明天就可以看到，明天可以继续 follow 明天的这个活动的这个直播。
对，
然后我想我们今天这个时间我们今天时间也过得非常久了，已经直播到现在已经过了1个半小时左右了。今天的那个内容非常的丰富，非常的多。然后在巴西现场的2位也非常辛苦，所以我们今天我想我们的节目就到这边告一段落。我们谢谢 Shawn， 谢谢 Jasmine， 谢谢2位。
期待回到台湾再见面，这样子也谢谢在线上收听的跟观看的听众们，谢谢你们，
拜
拜。
到时候等他们回来台湾之后呢，我们还会有一场这个在现场的活动，
对，那大家就持续关注。我
们目前日期是暂定在12月18号晚上，那一样会在这个法白常常办活动的这个湿地
venue，
那个湿地 venue， 所以到时候这个法白的朋友到时候有兴趣的话，可以欢迎来报名。
对，那希望大家继续关注我们法律白话运动社群。那如果想要关注更多气候议题的话，就请大家去追踪妈妈气候行动联盟的脸书跟 IG， 或者是台湾青年气候行动联盟的脸书跟 IG，
然后就把它按赞订阅，按赞起来。
没错，
这个法白的 YouTube 也可以订阅起来。
没错，
这个订阅制也可以订阅起来。
没错。好，希望大家经过今天这1个半小时的一个对谈当中，大家可以对于所谓的台湾的世界各国或者整个全世界气候议题，可以更
多了解。而且今天这个对谈我觉得真的不容易，因为
因
为我们今天很难得是有这个台湾的青年代表，在这个 COP 的现场呢，跟我们分享他们的第一手的观察。
对，
这个真的是一个很特别的一个经验。
更特别是我们还 speak English。Yeah。
对
very special.
It's a very special night for me to speak lots of English.
Lot of English, very hard, too hard.
It's a cross border.
Yes. 对，我觉得这是非常重要的事情，而且更重要的事情是，我也想提醒所有台湾人，大家每次都很喜欢把国际观挂嘴边，这就是一个你可以去实践所谓的国际观这件事情，不是只有挂嘴边这件事情，是真正去了解的。我觉得是一个非常好的机会。
现在在讲这个国际观呢，我们现在都会把它用2个角度来去切入，因为我们以前都讲这个全球化，
对，
所以其实国际观我们可以先有一个叫全球在地化，
没错，
我们去 follow 这个国际的潮流，然后去看看，这个在台湾的脉络下面有没有机会来做个实践，
没错。
所以在观察这个 加上这个 COP30， 然后这个现场的2位 Jasmine 跟这个 Shawn 他们带回来很多这个现场第一手观察。其实我们可以思考的事情是，这个国际上大家都在做这些事情，大家都在为气候做努力，那我们可以怎么样把它在台湾做个在地化？我们来做个全球在地化。那反过来我们要做在地全球化，我们把台湾的经验带到这个国际场合，让台湾经验、台湾的这个想法，也可以成为这个，也可以普及到全世界去。
没错，
对，那这个那就要靠 Jasmine 跟 Shawn 在这个 COP30 这个现场来做更多努力，把台湾的这个声音带到国际上面去。
对，
好，那我们今天谢谢，
再次感谢
Jasmine 跟 Shawn， 谢谢。
感谢，拜拜。
感谢，拜拜。
那
谢谢这个线上所有的朋友，大家辛苦了，谢谢，再见，拜拜。
好，拜拜，大家拜拜，我们下次见，拜拜。
关掉喽。好。